And a very good Saturday morning to you. Hope your day is off to a great start so far. And I'm your host, Randall White. It is Eat, Drink, Explore Radio, where we discuss all things food, wine, craft beer, travel, and tourism. And at this time, every Saturday morning, we discuss destinations. Now, typically, we focus on towns, cities, parks, trails, or other locations worthy of receiving a little extra attention, in our opinion. And we're usually pretty specific. But this week, we're headed to Southern California, and we're joined by Christopher Reynolds. He is a travel writer for the Los Angeles Times and has a new guide series available called Southern California Close-Ups, and it is sort of a patchwork around Southern California. Welcome to the program, Christopher.
Thanks, Randall. You can just call me Chris, and I appreciate being here.
Thank you, Chris. Now, you've broken up SoCal, we'll call it, into downtown L.A., Hollywood, Long Beach, San Pedro, and the South Bay. And for those of us from Northern California, we do not mean the Silicon Valley.
Exactly.
Instead, we mean Redondo, Hermosa, and Manhattan beaches, right?
Exactly. Yeah. As it turned out, we worked out so that we kind of sliced the pizza into a dozen pieces.
I see.
So Orange County and Los Angeles counties together, we came up with a dozen installments, and I went out and did as many things as I could think of in each of those places.
Great. Well, we'll focus on the four that your publisher sent me pictures for.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds reasonable.
And we'll start along the Strand there in the South Bay.
Okay.
So that's my favorite area to visit in Los Angeles right now. You can get a good deal on hotel rooms. The hotels often give you a bike so you can explore the Strand, and it's you can actually avoid the freeway system the entire time you're there. It's wonderful.
Yes, and if people haven't been to that area before, they may underestimate the usefulness of the Strand and the way that it connects Redondo, Hermosa, and Manhattan beaches. It's a really nice area.
Yeah.
Restaurants have been really stepping up in the last few years, and a nice sleeper for somebody who wants to splurge for a weekend that most folks don't know about is in Manhattan Beach. Maybe you've heard of this. There's
Shade?
a hotel called Shade.
I love Shade. I stayed there.
Oh, okay, good. That's great.
It's
I think
wonderful.
a lot of people in Southern California haven't quite recognized it yet, even though it's been going for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I guess. But it's an upscale hotel, and it's right on the main drag there in Manhattan Beach, so you can stay there.
Has a rooftop pool, too.
It does. It's not an enormous pool.
No, it's not.
But it's there.
Yeah. You know, Chris, the room that we had a wine dispenser in it, and they had chosen 3 really high-quality wines that, you would pour your wine glass sort of like you would a beer tap.
Well, they knew the way into the heart of someone from San Luis Obispo.
You're right. and they did have a San Luis Obispo County wine on tap. It was wonderful.
Yeah, they got the right foot forward with you, I guess. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, well, from there, you could walk down that main drag past a number of popular restaurants and bars. There's a place called Rock and Fish that's been going for years, and then at the foot of the street there's the beach and a nice pier, and at the end of the pier there's a great little aquarium that the kids enjoy a lot. And you get out that pier early in the morning and you look down, you can see the surfers doing their thing. And
I didn't know there was an aquarium. I didn't realize there was an aquarium.
Yeah, there is.
It's something for me to check out next time I go.
Yeah, exactly. Hermosa Beach has a lot going on too as well. If you're, I think I say in the guide, if you're 22 and looking to stay up real late and have a lot of fun, you can be in Hermosa Beach and be pretty happy because there's a whole cluster of bars and restaurants there right down by the water. I had a look at a hostel down there, and I'm a little bit past hostel age myself, but on behalf of all those who want to sleep by the beach for $25, $30 a night, I went in and had a look.
Hermosa Beach is a younger demographic for sure. Manhattan Beach would be more for people my age in their mid-40s, and so and then when you skip one more down, Redondo would be more for families?
Yes, and as you go further down to Redondo, and Redondo was a little bit less expensive and a little bit more down home. Although there's a Riviera area. Don't make me say that. That's got a number of nice places, little places to shop, and I think there's a microbrewery there as well.
Oh yes, and there's a new beer store in Redondo that has a wide selection of beers. It's owned by a friend of ours actually, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But We'll post that online at some point. All right, let's skip over to Long Beach, San Pedro. Some people may only know this area from getting on their cruise ship.
Yeah, that's true. There's a bunch of things to know about Long Beach and San Pedro. There's a great steakhouse in Long Beach, 555. And of course, there's all that stuff right down by the water, and they have a great big aquarium with bells and whistles. And I do recommend that aquarium with kids. But something to keep in mind is that out in San Pedro, which a lot of people don't get to, is the Cabrillo. I think that's the proper Portuguese way of saying it, Cabrillo rather than Cabrillo, aquarium. And it was designed by Frank Gehry before he was quite as big a star architect as he is now. And it's a real down-home sort of aquarium. I think it's less than $10 to get in.
Really?
It's more than $10 to get into the one in Long Beach. But it's got a great number of displays and things, and it's down near by a little inlet, and it's a nice money-saving option.
I like that, and so do a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Long Beach has really come into its own and made itself its own city. No longer is it like this outskirts city. It is Long Beach, and one great thing about Long Beach is it's connected, I believe, on the Blue Line to downtown L.A.
Yeah. In fact, there are a lot of people at the Los Angeles Times who live in Long Beach and take that Blue Line to come into work. A less speedy form of transportation, but one that I enjoyed a lot, was the boats that you can take down in Naples. They got a little gondolieri service down there, so you can go down there and they'll take you on the little canals of Naples. And depending on which one you get, they may actually sing under the bridges.
Really?
And depending on which one you get, that might be a good thing or not.
Right. That's true. Now, let's say you were to take the Blue Line into downtown Los Angeles. I remember, 10, 20 years ago, downtown was a ghost town as soon as the sun went down. But that's no longer the case. Downtown Los Angeles is a destination.
Yeah, that has been a wonderful evolution to watch. I've been working at the paper for a little more than 20 years, and so I've been seeing it as it went. And there were all those years when people were promising how it was going to be a 24-hour city, and it just wasn't happening. And son of a gun, now it's happening. And
isn't that great? What do you think caused that? Is it the rail system or the subway that went in?
I think the Red Line and Blue Line, the subway system is a big part of it, and as much as I'm unimpressed by its architecture, the LA Live complex has played a really crucial role.
Yeah.
People go there for sporting events and other things. It's next to the convention center. They've got a Marriott and a Ritz-Carlton right there, and though that's not my favorite Ritz-Carlton in the world, it's really becoming a locus of people gathering. And the other thing that's happening in downtown Los Angeles is, for a while there'd be all these individual big projects. But there was never that connective tissue of little businesses between them that kind of get you from one big place to another. And now those are starting to fill in, and those are the most interesting business.
And it forces people out onto the street, and it gives the city an appearance of vibrancy. And then you want to be downtown. Yeah,
exactly. Now, I think it's one Thursday night a month, they have an art walk down in the part of downtown just below Broadway, and that really comes alive. If you haven't been there for that really... you'll catch yourself thinking, am I in Los Angeles?
Right, yeah.
And it's not because the art is necessarily so great, but it's just because everyone's got this spirit of, hey, here we are in the city, let's have some fun.
I want to give a thumbs up to the downtown Westin Bonaventure. I've stayed there several times over the past year, and, that hotel has been there through the...
Oh, yeah.
For a long time. I don't know, I think it was built in the early 70s, maybe?
I think so. I had that look.
And we went to the rooftop restaurant that turns, and you can get a bottle of champagne there for $35 and sit there and enjoy a bottle of champagne with someone, and the restaurant will go all the way around during that time, maybe longer depending on how long you take to drink it. And you take glass elevators up to the top. It's wonderful. It's it's sort of a throwback thing to do, but it's a good time.
It is. And by the way, for people who don't visit Los Angeles very often, there is the idea out there that kooky restaurant at the theme building at LAX, that it revolves. It doesn't. It never has. You have to drink a lot there to make that revolve. And yet there are a lot of people who don't realize that the bar on top of the Bonaventure does revolve.
It does, and it's a dog-friendly hotel. That's why we've been staying there, and I think it's on the third floor. They have a giant outdoor lawn area where you can bring your dog, even in the middle of the night. And
if you want to be like younger and hipper and trendier, then there's the Standard Hotel nearby with a rooftop pool and a bar scene there.
Consistently voted one of the best.
A history nut, then there's the LA Athletic Club, which most people don't even realize has rooms and it goes back to the early 20th century. Lots of Olympic athletes used to train there. Charlie Chaplin spent some time there, and they've got a couple of private restaurants and a bunch of hotel rooms that are really nice. And if you're a guest at the hotel, then you can eat at the restaurants, and it puts you sort of it's near 7th and Broadway.
Okay.
So it's also really good if you were going to, a Lakers game or a Clippers game.
Right. Sadly, we only have about a minute left to discuss probably one of the most vibrant areas in the Southland right now, Hollywood.
Yeah. Everything's happening in Hollywood. And actually, the big Renaissance Hotel just changed and became a Lowe's. But yeah, you can take the Red Line to get to Hollywood from downtown. You can go to the Pantages Theater, which has, for my money, one of the most beautiful lobbies that you'll find anywhere in California. Disney premieres its new movies at the El Capitan.
Yeah.
Then there's the theater formerly known as Kodak, where Cirque du Soleil performs, and they have the Academy Awards.
It's now officially
the
Dolby
Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
I like the Roosevelt Hotel, and the bars in the lobby area are a lot of fun. What was that, Anthony, that cocktail? A ginger mojito that was made with vodka instead of rum. So really, it's not a mojito at all, but that's what it was called. And
there's a great burger restaurant at the Roosevelt, and also anybody who's ever seen, there's a scene in an old Shirley Temple movie where she dances with Bojangles Robinson on the steps of a hotel. That's the place.
It. Chris Reynolds, so great to have you on the show today with the LA Times. A new series called Southern California Close-Ups, 12 different versions of them. They're available online, and we have a link for you at eatdrinkexplore.com so that you can head down to the Southern California area and really get the best out of it. Thank you, Chris, for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure. Try the ebook or the app.
All right, stick around, everyone, because straight ahead we've got Travel Deals, one of our most popular segments, and everyone loves Gabe Saglia with Travel Zoo and his top 20. You're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network. I'm Randall White, and we're back in just a minute. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break, and we'll be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break, and we'll be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Thank you for being a regular listener to the Eat, Drink, Explore radio program. If you have any feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. Simply send a note to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore.
You've waited all week, and it's finally here. The Eat, Drink, Explore Weekly Travel Deals Extravaganza.
She's not kidding. I do wait all week for this segment, and especially when we have Travel Zoo's Gabe Saglia on the line, because his top 20, which I receive in my inbox on Wednesday morning, I go through it every single time, and I would go broke if I bought every single deal that I always wanted to take advantage of. But this is the Travel Deals segment. This is where we hear insight from the best of the best, the gurus of bargains, the luminaries of budget travel. Gabe Saglia joins us this time from, I believe, Lake Arrowhead. Last month, we caught up with you, Gabe, in the Santa Ynez Valley.
You know, we're trying to cover the state, one county at a time, Randall. I'm on the shores of beautiful Lake Arrowhead. It's, we're just south of Big Bear by about a half-hour drive.
Okay.
About 6,000-foot elevation up from San Bernardino. Just beautiful up here. Right? I mean, we're literally right on the shoreline here. People are starting to get their boats ready to go out, maybe doing a little water skiing, doing a little kayaking, sunshine
nice.
All weekend long. Great 4th of July here as well.
Is that the San Gabriel Mountains?
It's the San Bernardino Mountains.
Oh, okay.
And if you drive about 6,000 feet up from San Bernardino down below on the highway, I think it's the 18, the Waterman exit off the 210, you get to Lake Arrowhead. There's Lake Gregory, Blue Jays right here, and then you keep driving another 1,000 feet or so. You get up to Big Bear, which obviously becomes a wildly popular place over the winter months.
Yeah,
During
sure.
the summer months, these mountains, although there's no snow here, still become these great value destinations. And great for outdoor, activities.
Mountain biking and such.
Exactly,
hiking, right? I love all that. Well, Gabe, I really appreciate that you do this segment regardless of where you are. That really helps us out a lot. And this week you have some great destinations at some great prices, including one right here in our backyard on the Central Coast. It is the Sea Pines Golf Resort. Tell us a bit about that deal.
Yeah, this is a great property. This is in Los Osos on the southern tip of Morro Bay on what they call the Central Coast Golf Trail. A lot of great championship golf courses in this area. This particular resort has its own 9 golf executive course. But if you want to do the 18-hole championship-style golfing, you've got several options in this area near Los Osos.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a great, quiet resort, hiking trails nearby, horseback riding. Hearst Castle is about a 45, 60-minute drive away.
Yeah.
San Luis Obispo, 15 minutes away. So they've got a deal now to travel through September. It's $139 a night. You get breakfast or lunch for two the next day, and then you get 2 rounds of golf on their 9-hole executive course.
Wow.
So great deal, and one of the, as you know, beautiful stretches there on the Central California coast.
I need to tell my brother-in-law about that one. He'll love it with the golf involved. And if you bring your bicycle, you can ride into Morro Bay. It's not a long ride, and it takes you right through the state park, and there's plenty to do along the Embarcadero there. You're not at a want for things to do with that option.
Absolutely. I'm actually heading, we leave Lake Arrowhead today. Tomorrow we go on a 2-nighter to Cambria, so we'll be stopping by Morro Bay and enjoying some of the beautiful, the wineries up there and some of the great landscape options in Central California.
Now, your next deal here, I believe I've stayed here at the Vintners Inn in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County wine country.
Yeah, this is actually in the heart of Sonoma wine country. The Ferrari Carano folks, very popular for their high-end wines coming out of Sonoma, but they've got their own inn. It's a 4-diamond European-style resort on a 92-acre vineyard. called the Vintners Inn, and they've got a special now for $199. It includes about $100 in dining credits. They've got a great John Ash restaurant right on property. There is a couple of different options, but the John Ash restaurant is sort of a destination eatery in and of itself.
Yeah.
Then you get tastings for two at Ferrari Carano and a couple of other nearby wineries as well. This is for travel through August at the $199 rate. Great for a couple looking for a quiet romantic escape, maybe an anniversary. Just a beautiful property right there on the vineyard.
And you can jump over to the Russian River wine growing region,
Exactly.
or you can head into Sonoma. It's great.
Yeah.
Or Sebastopol as well is not too far from there. I believe, Gabe, and I'm not positive on this, but I think the Caranos also own I think it's the El Dorado in Reno.
Yes, that's right, up in which is a very popular resort right on the shores of Lake Tahoe. You're absolutely right.
They seem like good people. So, okay, now this next deal is a houseboat vacation. I haven't done this, Gabe, since I was 18 and graduated from high school, and we rented a houseboat up at Lake Shasta. But I had the time of my life, and I was looking through pictures. I thought maybe I would share a picture of this, but there were no pictures I could share from that particular trip. But you've got a good deal on this.
Yeah, this is actually through a company called Seven Crown Resorts, and they are offering a 47-foot Summit boat. It sleeps 10 people, so it's great for a family, multi-generational family get-together, or a few couples that want to enjoy some time on the lake. It's a 3-day, 2-night houseboat rental for $945. Usually, it costs you $1,350. So you're basically getting at least 1 day for free with this deal. You also get a $100 fuel credit with this deal.
Oh, wow.
On this kind of a 47-foot Summit boat, you're spending about $60 a day on gas if you're being active on the lake. You have a couple of options here. You can either do this on Lake Shasta, which is the largest lake in California, just east of Eureka. You can also rent the boat on the California Delta, which is just northeast of San Francisco near Sacramento. Now, both of these lakes, you can cruise them throughout the course of the day, or you can just, throw anchor in the middle of the lake, enjoy some fishing out there. There's also some great hiking trails if you want to just take the boat to the shore. But if you can get 10 people on the boat at that $945 rate, it comes out to about $3,150 per person per day, and these boats have full bathroom, they have a gas barbecue, full kitchen, they have a sun deck, air conditioning. So it's really just a great way to sort of escape reality on the beautiful waters of either the California Delta or Lake Shasta.
It's like luxury RVing, but on water.
And that's it, exactly right.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, it is so much fun. If you're hot, and Lake Shasta gets a lot hotter than the Delta. Lake Shasta gets incredibly hot up there, 100-degree days, and all you have to do is just jump right overboard, and you're good. And if somebody in your group of 10 has a ski boat, then you can kind of anchor the houseboat and not spend as much in gas and head out and go skiing and such. So that sounds fun. Now I've got that at the forefront. All right, let's talk the tropics and St. Thomas.
So I like this deal because it takes you to the U.S. Virgin Islands. The U.S. Virgin Islands, like Puerto Rico, the only Caribbean destinations where you do not need a passport to travel. They're U.S. territories. So for folks who don't have a passport and they want to do sort of a off-the-cuff tropical vacation, this is definitely a great option. St. Thomas, sort of a more lucrative destination, but during the summer months, late summer into early fall, you get some great deals out there.
This is their hurricane season? Is that why?
That's exactly right. The hurricane season is June through probably September, October. September tends to be the most volatile month, although you can never really completely guess exactly when this is going to. The neat deal about this deal is that it includes bad weather insurance. So if for some reason you need to change your plans because there was a storm coming, it's covered and you don't have to worry about any change fees.
Nice.
Through a company called Cheap Caribbean, but it's with airfare out of Los Angeles out to St. Thomas. You get a 4-night stay at a place called the Sugar Bay Resort and Spa, 4-star property, set on the mountainside with views of the Virgin Islands, 3 lagoon-style pools, a secluded beach. They got a great spa on property, 9 restaurants and lounges. You get breakfast
9 restaurants and lounges?
Yes, you won't go hungry here. You get breakfast daily at $8.29. That $8.29 is a 4-night stay with the airfare out of Los Angeles. For another $200 or so, you could actually upgrade to the all-inclusive option, which means you can basically drink and eat all day at any of their eateries as much as you want. So for those of us who get hungry on vacation, that might be an option as well. But at that $8.29 price, you get the breakfast daily. It comes with a free room upgrade. You get a $50 food and beverage credit. It's a great opportunity to visit what is usually one of the more lucrative islands out there in the Caribbean, the St. Thomas. And these prices, as you know, can easily double or triple during the winter months when they become these much more attractive sort of balmy weather destinations in the winter months.
If you're anything like my family and friends, that $200 for the all-inclusive is a bargain.
Exactly. No, absolutely right. I mean, you could go through that the first day.
Exactly. Hey, Gabe, I got to let you go. We cannot discuss India, but people can find that easily online with our link to the Travel Deals Top 20. Gabe Saglia, live from Lake Arrowhead. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Randall. I'll see you on the road, my friend. Thanks very much.
All righty. Enjoy your trip to the Central Coast. This hour of Eat, Drink, Explore Radio brought to you by Kelly's at the Grill at Hunter Ranch. Dine under the oaks. It is so beautiful, the view from there, surrounded by rolling green hills, located just 3 miles from Highway 101, right there on 46 East in Paso Robles. Stick around, everyone, because next hour we're talking cocktail trends, growing your own cocktail herb garden, and whatever happened to that store-bought tomato in America. Well, you're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network. I'm your host, Randall White. We're back in 60 seconds. Eat, Drink, Explore Media is your lifestyle information source. Our focus, food, wine, craft beer, travel, and tourism trends, with a slant towards sustainable and healthy options. Whether it's hot deals or tips for hotels and flights, an update on what's currently fresh at your local farmer's market, or the latest restaurant and beverage news, we've got you covered from 8 to 10 each and every Saturday morning. Live on Crush 92.5 in San Luis Obispo County and online at eatdrinkexplore.com. Also, check out our new free smartphone and tablet app. Simply search 3 words, Eat, Drink, Explore, either in Google Play on your Android device or in the App Store on your iPhone or iPad. This free app gives you access to contests, past radio segments, our Facebook and Twitter feeds, and you can watch live video of the radio broadcast while listening to it here on The Crush. Eat, Drink, Explore Media, your source for the lifestyle you love. It's the top of the hour and time once again for the latest from the Eat, Drink, Explore news desk.
Good morning, Eat, Drink, Explorers. I'm Patty Pyburn. Here's a look at what's making news on this fabulous Saturday morning. A new form of medicinal marijuana that does not get you high is being grown by researchers. A government-approved plantation in northern Israel created a strain of cannabis that contains trace levels of THC. That's the ingredient that makes you feel high. Now, normal levels of THC in the plant are about 23%. This new strain contains just 1%. The new development allows medical or medicinal marijuana users to retain the medical benefits of the substance without feeling intoxicated. According to a recent court ruling, European workers now get a vacation do-over if they get sick before or during their time off. The EU Court of Justice ruled that workers in all 27 EU countries are entitled to a second vacation if they become ill. The court stated the purpose for this ruling is to ensure workers are rested and relaxed during their guaranteed annual vacation, and if a worker does get sick, well, their vacation will be counted as sick leave instead. A brewery in the Czech Republic now sells an exclusive type of beer, complete with bits of real gold in the bottle. The chief brewer sells this beer out of his brewery in the Czech city of Ostava, where only 500 bottles have been made to order so far. Now, each bottle contains about 1/5 of a gram of 24-karat gold, nothing but the best. It's made to order for those who are willing to pay the price. Now, the beer maker tells the Huffington Post, aside from the beautiful look of the shimmering brew, the gold also offers health benefits. It took 1.5 years to develop, and it's called, Curtis Cole, help me out, is it Ray? Ray, after the Egyptian sun god. Wanted to make sure of the pronunciation. The votes are in for we should just call this the beer news. Randall said this was our happy hour, so I guess the beer news is appropriate. The votes are in for the best beer in America for 2012. Among them is a Central Coast favorite. The American Homebrewers Association tallied more than 16,000 votes and ranked the Firestone Walker Brewery number 7 in the country. It's Union Jack beer at number 11 in the U.S. Some other notable names on top are Sierra Nevada, North Coast, and Dogfish. The number 1 spot going to a beer called Pliny the Elder. It's made by Russian River Brew House. All right, top honors can vary from poll to poll, but Pliny Elder has taken the top spot 4 years in a row for this Homebrewers Association. All right, joining me now, our very own Curtis Cole. He's got a reporter segment this morning on the foie gras ban in California. Curtis.
Thank you, Patty. Well, just a few days after the official foie gras ban in California has taken place, 3 businesses have already filed lawsuits against the state to contest that the law is not constitutional. And those 3 companies are the Hudson Valley Foie Gras, a French-Canadian duck farming organization that I shall not name because it is in French and I will butcher it terribly.
Okay, good choice.
And the Los Angeles Hots Restaurant Group Incorporated have also filed those suits. And in a formal complaint to the district court, the plaintiffs contend that the law violates their 5th and 14th Amendment rights, as well as the Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. And in Section 36 of this document, the plaintiff states, the vagueness of the Section 25982 leaves it open to entirely arbitrary enforcement by any of California's tens of thousands of peace officers, humane society officers, and animal control officers, and subject plaintiffs to crippling civil penalties. While some companies chose to file suit, other companies are signing petitions, and some are even ignoring the ban and serving the force-fed duck livers anyway. And, it's a bold move, but we'll see what happens. It's a $1,000 fine if you violate it, but currently there's no one enforcing those right now, so people are kind of...
So they're taking the risk that no one's going to do anything if they serve it. Maybe they just need to charge more for it, and then they can afford the fine.
Yeah, the scare tactics.
Now, wasn't it a week or so ago we had the story about the faux foie gras?
Yes, and a lot of restaurants are using that as an alternative, and that's with lentils and a variety of vegetables. And a lot of diehard fanatics are just going strong with it and kind of violating the law. But we'll see. I think there's going to be some more stuff coming out in the news very soon.
All right, Curtis Cole, thank you for that. Just a quick look at weather. It's been hot around the nation. We are enjoying much better conditions here on the Central Coast. We're back in a moment.
Eat, Drink, Explore Media is your lifestyle information source. Our focus, food, wine, craft beer, travel, and tourism trends, with a slant towards sustainable and healthy options. Whether it's hot deals or tips for hotels and flights, an update on what's currently fresh at your local farmers market, or the latest restaurant and beverage news, we've got you covered from 8 to 10 each and every Saturday morning. Live on Crush 92.5 in San Luis Obispo County and online at eatdrinkexplore.com. Also, check out our new free smartphone and tablet app. Simply search 3 words, Eat, Drink, Explore, either in Google Play on your Android device or in the App Store on your iPhone or iPad. This free app gives you access to contests, past radio segments, our Facebook and Twitter feeds, and you can watch live video of the radio broadcast while listening to it here on The Crush. Eat, Drink, Explore Media, your source for the lifestyle you love.
Delicious, nutritious, and fabulously fun.
Is this real life?
Best of all, your comments.
That was real money saver. Thanks, Randall.
So did it work out for you?
Your hotel tip was spot on.
You're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network. But don't just sit there. It's an interactive program, honey.
Are you sure this is legal? I don't know. It's fun though, isn't it?
Pick your pleasure. Tweet, chat, post, email, even call us on the telly. Whatever works for you. Our topics today, food, drinks, travel, and a whole lot more fun. So let's pop the cork on this thing and get the party started. Give it up now for our fantastic host, the wonderful and talented Mr. Randall White.
I think that's the champagne talking.
All right, good morning, everyone. Hour number 2 here on Eat, Drink, Explore Radio. I'm your host, Randall White, and we are coming to you live from downtown San Luis Obispo. The fog, for the first time since we've been broadcasting from downtown, has not broken yet. And I have to say I'm kind of glad about that because it really, at this time of year, streams right in this window and makes it difficult to see the computer screen. But a big welcome to you if you're just joining us this hour. Lots of great stuff as we explore the worlds of food, wine, travel, craft beer, tourism in a healthy, fun, and sustainable manner. Straight ahead, Sunset Magazine, one of my favorites. This is the summer issue, the big summer food issues out right now on newsstands, and it is full of amazing information. We have their top cocktail trends for the summer, and we'll be hearing all about those. And I've followed a few of these. I'm handing the magazine over to Patty Byburn right now so she can see if she's a trendy type person. Also, if you're anything like most of us living in this nation, then you've noticed store-bought tomatoes are often tasteless with an odd texture, while fresh vine-ripened tomatoes like the ones you get from your garden are some of the best-tasting treats of summer. In fact, Patty, you don't even... Well, she says she doesn't like tomatoes, and I think it's because she was mostly exposed to the store-bought versions.
Probably so. Not the fresh tomatoes I can't do. They look great. Big, round, red globes. And, the heirloom ones are kind of gnarled and but it depends on what you like. Some of those are really interesting to look at.
They are, and you had some tomatoes in Spain that
were
made you
really
rethink.
good. Yes.
Yeah. Then finally, we'll be speaking with the author of a book called Tomatoland, and Barry Estabrook. He's an amazing food journalist, and he'll be talking about the history of the tomato and what happened. And then finally, we'll speak with an editor at Organic Gardening Magazine about choosing the right herbs for your garden if you want to make some good drinks. We will also run down a list of the top 10 cities for taking a beer vacation. You'll want to hear that. That's right after I tell you that Eat, Drink, Explore Radio is brought to you by Kelly's at the Grill at Hunter Ranch Golf Course. The best kept secret on the Central Coast for sure. It's hidden away there right on top of a mountain in the middle of a golf course, and you look out over the rolling hills of Paso Robles. It is the Hunter Ranch Golf Course, open 7 days a week for breakfast and lunch. Happy hour is daily from 3 to 6, so it really should be happy hours. And then dinner, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, located on 46 East past Airport Road there in Paso Robles. Kelly's at the Grill at Hunter Ranch. Give it a try. All right, right now, it is time for the Top 10 segment, and we once again bring in Miss Patty Byburn to specifically talk the top 10 cities for taking a beer vacation.
I like it.
A beercation.
A beercation.
I guess you could call it. I heard someone the other day say they wanted to say staycation, but they wrote stay vacation, and I'm like, what?
Stay vacation.
Well, no, that's not it. And you know what, Patty? I've got a.
I like beercation, or could it be a brewcation?
Yeah. Right, a brewcation. Oh, I like that. Yeah, a brewcation. So I need to find the rundown here. Here it is. Found it. It just took me a second.
Little tap dancing going on here.
Right. Okay, so the number one city for this, we'll start at number 10 instead.
Okay, we'll go work our way up.
We'll work our way up. Number 10 is Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, well, that's a natural.
If anyone ever remembers the beginning to Laverne and Shirley, they lived in Milwaukee.
Right.
That was a show on ABC in the 70s.
And what was the beer?
Shots, I think it was.
Because my dad, way back, drank Schlitz.
Yeah. Schlitz. And I think they were playing off of that.
I think so, yeah.
Shots with a Z. And Miller is located there, the big giant Miller Brewing Company in Miller Park, if you're a baseball fan. But lots of breweries in Wisconsin, and there you can walk from one to the next. There's one called Lakefront Brewery that's right there on Lake Michigan. Milwaukee's just a fun city to explore, period. It used to be very blue-collar and not much going on. Now there's tons of restaurants. And
throw in some beer and...
All right.
Say no more.
Amen, sister friend. All right, here we go. Number 9 is San Diego.
Oh.
We just recently had on the show from Stone Brewing Company, Dr. Bill, who gave us some beer tips. And
some
San Diego.
Great beer information from Dr. Bill.
Yes, and there's so many reasons to visit San Diego. I hear they have a great fireworks show. I'm just kidding. Have you heard of was that part of the newscast? I don't know.
We didn't have that.
No, okay, yeah. So the San Diego fireworks all went off at one time.
Oops.
And instead of being spread out over the course of
something went wrong with the programming, and it was one big grand finale instead of a show.
I hate to laugh, but I'm just wondering if the city had a contract that would allow them to get that money back. We'll be hearing
fireworks
about that.
are expensive.
That's for sure. Okay, Portland, and we're not talking Portland, Oregon. We're talking Portland, Maine.
Okay,
is city number 8. Lots to do on the coast there too. Up in Maine, I love that state. Where am I? 7. Number 7 is Asheville, North Carolina. And Asheville is now home to Sierra Nevada Brewery East. They're building their big one there. And several other microbreweries have chosen Asheville. It already was sort of a beer mecca with tiny microbreweries and such. And it was the setting, a lot of areas right around Asheville, for filming of the Hunger Games.
Oh, that's right.
All right. It's telling me a server hang-up. Sorry here. Let's, I know. Okay. Portland, Oregon. So we said Portland, Maine.
Portland.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Widmer Brothers is there. If you want a good gluten-free beer, they have one available. And then coming in at number 5 is Seattle, Washington. The Pacific Northwest in general. Big with coffee, big with beer.
Yes.
And now big with wine.
That's right. We heard that about Seattle.
Right. Number 4 is Charlottesville, Virginia. I would not have guessed that.
No.
Nelson County, apparently, is where that's located, and I just don't know enough about to talk about it. So we'll skip to number 3, which is Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, Michigan, once again in the Midwest there. I know there's a lot of brewing going on. They have a great Brewers Guild in Michigan that throw all kinds of events throughout the year, including one right in the middle of winter, which I think is funny, and it's outdoors. Okay, Fort Collins, Colorado. I used to manage the Boulder Brewing Company just down the road from Fort Collins, and yeah.
That's a great place.
Great breweries there in the Fort Collins area. I bought my very first car there. The first one that I bought. It was a Jeep Renegade.
Oh, that's perfect. Colorado.
I think I bought it because of that. I couldn't afford the gas though, so I sold it for a Honda Civic.
Parked your bike next to it.
Right. And number 1 on the list is Burlington, Vermont, which is sort of like a Berkeley, like a Madison, Wisconsin, like a Boulder, Colorado. It's a college town there. Right on Lake Champlain, I believe it is. And Burlington would be a fun town to visit anyway, but apparently they have a great beer scene. So there you have it, the top 10 beer cities, Miss Pyburn.
Woohoo. Well, you know what? You can't go wrong with beer.
No. No,
right?
You can't, really.
It turns a vacation and a visit to my house into a vacation.
It does. And your house is a vacation. All right, right after the break, we are talking Sunset Magazine and the top cocktail trends for summer 2012. We'll speak with an editor there about how they came up with these. And then they have a list on the next page. They have a list of bars where you can find these trends happening. So really a cool issue, and we will dissect it right after the break. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Thank you for being a regular listener to the Eat, Drink, Explore radio program. If you have any feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. Simply send a note to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore. I always wait for the little bird tweet before I start talking. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the program on this Saturday. I'm your host, Randall White. Hey, it's first weekend in July, first full weekend in July, and hope you are enjoying yourself. Had a great 4th of July, where we trust. You're listening to Eat, Drink, Explore Radio, where we talk food, wine, craft beer, travel, and tourism, where we will focus on cocktails this hour. Christine Charmello with Sunset Magazine joins us to discuss the cocktail trends of summer 2012. Welcome to the program, Christine.
Thanks for having me, Randall.
So the cocktail culture really does change over the years. If you think back to the tiki lounges of the early 1960s or, pina coladas in the late 70s, and then you had, maybe 10 years ago, you couldn't walk into a bar without a mojito being featured. But it changes, as everything does. The only thing that stays constant is change.
It's true. It's
right?
definitely changed. I mean, it's just like the food that we eat. I mean, there's so much of a focus on craft now, craft of the cocktail, really, and super artisanal, locally sourced. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, what's going on.
Well, I love your big summer food issue. I've been a subscriber, and as has my parents and family, to Sunset Magazine for years and years. And I look forward to the big summer food issue. I could read this one cover to cover, and I typically do. And when I got to the cocktail portion, I was like, all right, we need a guest on the show for this. So you have 10 of them in here. Let's start with the start-enders. What do you mean by that?
Star-tenders are sort of like star chefs. I mean, bartending has really become a craft, as I said earlier, and so the people that are executing it really well are creating a following. There are, several people in Seattle and in San Francisco and LA where wherever they move, they're tracked, and people want to try their cocktails.
Right.
Yeah.
There's I just saw this from a friend of mine. There's a bar in Las Vegas where the bartenders are the show, so to speak, similar to that Tom Cruise movie Cocktail. Where they're flipping but in this case, it's not necessarily the acrobatics that go on with being a bartender. It's the quality of the drinks.
It's the quality of the drink. It's the balance. It's also that some of these bartenders are making their own. There's certain components to a drink. There are bitters and simple syrups, and they are making their own, and so they're really affecting the different cocktails. They're adding their own flavors. They're adding a little bit of westernness in it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the second things we talked about sort of rolls into that, which is super fresh ingredients, garden to glass. I mean, these star-tenders are using what's in season now. I mean, we're all used to hearing about that, but strawberries and rhubarb, and you're going to see herbs, coriander and thyme and rosemary in drinks.
We'll be speaking cocktail herbs at the end of this hour with somebody from Organic Gardening Magazine to talk about how to plant the right herb garden for making your cocktails. I thought it went well with this segment. And it's true, the farm to plate happened, it's now in several years running. It took a little while longer for it to reach the cocktail scene.
It did. Garden to glass, it's a little bit harder. You have to figure out how you're going to make the bitters. One of the big components of a drink is a tincture, and what a lot of these bartenders are doing is using fresh ingredients, putting them in high-proof booze, letting it sit for 6 hours or more, and then that takes on the taste and the flavor of that ingredient. So it's learning how to manipulate all these things. There
used to be a bar, and I'm not sure if it's still there, in San Francisco near the ballpark, which is now AT&T Park, and it was, I think the name of the bar was called Infusion, and they had large tanks behind the bar that they did just that. They they were infusing the different. I think they used vodka as the base with the different coconut or whatever it might be to sit in that mixture.
Yeah.
So number 3 on the list is ice. And you call it hot ice, which I think is funny, but Haute.
Yeah.
What's the trend with ice right now?
Well, we can call it fancy ice, so it's easier to understand. But just like heat is such a tool with a chef, ice is essential to a bartender as far as making the drink the right temperature, making sure it's not too diluted. It's so easy when you compare it to the flame and to the heat that goes into food. There is the right ice for the right drink, and there are a bunch of different ices right now. There are, we've got our regular chipped ice and our cubes, but there's also bigger block ice, hand-carved ice. You're not seeing this in a lot of bars right now because the equipment can be kind of expensive. Okay. So it's the real craft bars, Bar Agricole, which is in San Francisco, has their own ice machine that I think was $4,000 or $5,000.
Oh wow! Just for an ice machine. Mm-hmm.
Just for an ice machine, and they do a lot of hand carved ice too. So you get a humongous block of ice, and then the bartenders chip away at it and get the shapes that they want and the sizes that they want for the drink.
I imagine the quality of the water and where the water comes from to make the ice is also a big component.
It is a big component.
Right. Yeah. Now, number 5 on your list is, and I'm never quite sure how to say this, terroirism. Terroirism.
So we don't slip into anything.
Right. What does that mean exactly?
There is so much going on in craft distillery world right now. I have noted, we've probably all seen it. There's a lot of gins that are being made in the West. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of fruit brandies being made in the West. In 2005, I was just looking this up, there were 50 craft distilleries in the U.S., and today there are 250.
Really? That is an explosion.
It is. And so when you see what bartenders have available to them, when you go to a bar, you're probably going to see a lot of brand names that you don't recognize. But it's very interesting because you might see fruit brandies that are made from Washington apples, or a fruit brandy made from a Douglas fir pine needles, which is a company out of Oregon.
Really? So that might have sort of a gin taste to it.
I don't know if that has a gin taste to it, but it's a bit fruity. it's a fruit brandy, so it's a little heavier.
I see. Okay,
yes,
right.
Yeah.
So,
but gin is a huge thing right now, and one of the more well-known brands is Aviation Gin, which is out of Oregon. And there's also Leopold, which is kind of making the waves too, and that's out of Denver.
One of the things I'm liking with these craft distillers is they're not afraid to go organic.
No, they're not, and they really, for example, gin always tasted like juniper berries for the most part, and what they're doing is really working in the terroir of the land and not being afraid to let it express other flavors of the region.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, number 6, you call apothecaryism, and
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I just know of an apothecary table. It has a lot of little drawers in it, and an apothecary would be someone who it would have been like an old world pharmacist.
Yeah, I mean, I exactly. I sort of refer to this with the super fresh ingredients, but some of the components or building blocks of a drink are bitters, tinctures, and simple syrups. And instead of what we were seeing before, were people opening bottles, prepackaged stuff coming in, these bartenders are making their own. So. Yeah. Just what I was talking about with the tinctures is putting a fresh ingredient in high-proof booze, usually Everclear, letting it sit for a while, and then taking on those flavors.
Right.
But it adds complexity to the drinks.
I talked about the tiki lounges of the early 1960s, but there's a neo-tiki movement going on.
There is a new tiki movement going on, and that's been happening for a couple of years, but it sort of brings all of these elements that we've just talked about. You know, no more corn syrups or not so good fruit juices, but fresh fruit, fresh tinctures, the whole bit. And
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then, you don't get so much of a hangover with all that corn syrup, too.
No, right. And then you have about 10 seconds to discuss it. I apologize. Mezcal, you're seeing that on a lot of menus.
Yeah, mezcal, I would say that if I had mezcal and digestifs are two of the it liqueurs right now. And mezcal for its smoky flavor, for its extreme regionalism.
Right.
Bartenders are loving to play with it. So
we've also got Bars and Bars, Dislandia, and then a whole bunch of bars where you can find this going on. It's in the new episode of Sunset edition of Sunset Magazine. Thank you so much for being on the show, Christine Charmello.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we're back in just a minute talking tomatoes. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Thank you for being a regular listener to the Eat, Drink, Explore radio program. If you have any feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. Simply send a note to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore.
Welcome back to the Eat, Drink, Explore radio network. Here now is your fabulous host, Mr. Randall White.
And a very good morning to you. And it's not just me for this segment. It is Randall White, but also Patty Pyburn, my co-host and good friend. I'm bringing Patty into the show because I am a tomato lover. I could eat fresh garden tomatoes nonstop and do during the summer. As soon as they're still green at my house, but they'll be red at some point.
There.
Right. Patty is someone that still needs to be convinced when it comes to the tomato.
I've had a few that I as an adult that I've liked, but typically I do not like fresh tomatoes, but I'll eat them love them in all other forms, soups, sauce, sun-dried, you name it.
And did you know that all the sauce tomatoes, most of the sauce tomatoes grown in the United States are grown in California, and they're allowed to turn red.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that you find at restaurants or in the grocery store, at least a third of the ones you find are all grown in Florida, and they're picked green.
They come off the vine before they ripen.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that your experience might be those, and that's why you don't like them. To delve more into the history of the tomato and what went wrong is Barry Estabrook. He wrote a fabulous book called Tomatoland. I highly, highly recommend it. He also has a fantastic website called politicsoftheplate.com. Barry, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Fantastic.
Glad to be here.
Well, nice to have you, and I couldn't put your book down. I learned a lot. First of all, I had no idea that tomatoes came from South America originally.
Well, yes, they did. And in fact, they come from, some of the most inhospitable places on the planet, the deserts of far western South America, from Ecuador down to Chile.
The Atacama Desert is the driest place in the world, is it not?
Well, parts of it certainly are. There are areas that have never recorded rainfall. And surprisingly, wild relatives of tomatoes live in those areas. They get the moisture they need from mist that comes in off the Pacific Ocean.
But those tomatoes that you would find still, wild tomatoes growing in that portion of the world, are not the tomatoes that we find on our plates today, right?
No, they're not. They're different species. They're wild cousins, I guess would be the best way to describe them, of the tomatoes that we eat.
How did they make their way from that portion of South America to when people think of Italy, they think of tomatoes? When you think of salsa in Mexico, you think of tomatoes. How did that all come about?
Well, interestingly, you've just put your finger on what should be described as the missing link in tomato history. All the tomatoes we eat now come from a species that grows in northern Peru and southern Ecuador. They still grow there to this day, the wild species. But for some reason, and again, no one knows why, they weren't ever domesticated in that region. The first people to domesticate them were the Mayan people of southern Mexico. That's more than 1,000 miles away. And no one really understands why that happened, but it did. They were taken to that area of Mexico and domesticated. And by the time the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 1500s in Mexico, they were a common part of the diet, and it was the conquistadors who took these weird tomatoes, that had never before been seen in Europe back home with them. And they spread throughout Spain and Italy, just geographically, because that's where they were brought back initially.
I think it's funny, in your book you mentioned that in England they didn't eat the tomatoes. They actually thought they could make you sick, and they used them decoratively.
Yeah, in fact, they described them as rank and stinking, and they would use them medicinally occasionally. They were evidently good for vapors, and they would use them as medicinal plants for eye irritations. But they wouldn't eat them. They were considered decorative, and some people in the United States in the colonial era still viewed them strictly as a beautiful decorative thing, but they wouldn't touch them as far as food.
Well, that has certainly changed, and now let's fast forward to modern day, and how on earth did a place like Florida, with its sandy soil and extreme humid conditions, become one of the top tomato growing regions in the U.S.?
Well, it had everything to do with marketing and nothing to do with botany and horticulture, because you're right. Florida's humid. Tomatoes hate humidity. And Florida's, where tomatoes are growing, is it's sand. It's just like Daytona Beach. They have to pump all the nutrients in to get a crop. Mm-hmm. However, Florida happens to be within a 36-hour tractor-trailer drive from Boston, New York City, Atlanta, Chicago, St. Louis, Minneapolis, a huge population, and it is warm enough in the winter in Florida to grow tomatoes, so that explains why they're growing there.
Right, that would be the one thing in Florida's back pocket, is that they don't freeze.
So
right.
Proximity.
Well, most of the time.
Right. So they pick them green there. You start your book off that way, that you saw a truck with tomatoes falling off the back. They're bouncing on the ground, yet they were undamaged.
Exactly. There was a tractor trailer going down I-75 in southwestern Florida, open top truck like a gravel truck, and it was filled with perfectly green tomatoes. There wasn't a pink, there wasn't a red, there was just green. And it hit a bump, and a few flew off and struck the pavement and bounced and rolled onto the shoulder. No harm done. I thought, my God. These are the things that I go out into my garden in the summer, and I pick a few and sort of tuck them up in my T-shirt and cradle them and consider myself lucky if they make it the 30 yards to the kitchen counter without spontaneously splitting.
Right.
And here they've created things that can hit an interstate at 60 miles an hour. What's happened?
Right.
And Barry, is that the idea behind the grocery store tomato, that it is so durable?
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, they're grown to be picked green, gassed with ethylene gas, which turns them orange, even though they're not ripe, or turns them red, and shipped week, 2 weeks, no problem. You can buy a grocery store tomato and drop it on the floor, and it nothing happens to it. They're tough tomatoes.
Now, there was a news article that came out just this week, good timing for this segment, that had to do with why is the supermarket tomato, why are our tomatoes in general so tasteless? And it was researchers, I believe, at UC Davis that found we had bred out something called green shoulders on the tomato because people want the tomato to be perfectly red, but attached to that green shoulder gene, if I understand this correctly, was a big flavor component.
You're exactly right, and what I learned in researching the book was tomato flavor is a very, very complex thing. If you want to get a fruit that tastes like something that everyone would recognize as a strawberry, you really only need to get one aromatic chemical in your strawberry, and people will say, strawberry. Mm-hmm. Tomatoes require more than a dozen of these chemicals, none of which taste anything like a tomato. But together they do. And the trouble with plant breeding is if you breed for one trait, you often introduce traits you don't want or lose traits you do. So if the goal is to get a perfectly beautiful cosmetic tomato, like you see in the grocery store, in creating that, you may inadvertently lose some of the genes that create these all-important chemicals, and that's exactly what has happened to the modern tomato. A commercial grower in Florida, quite honestly, when I approached him about this, said, "Barry, I get paid by the pound. I don't get paid for flavor. I don't get a cent for taste. I get paid for the pounds." So breeders for the past 50 years have concentrated on varieties that grow huge quantities of tough tomatoes, because that's what their customers, the big tomato growers, want.
Now, Barry, I just recently visited some family in a small fishing village in Spain in an area called Galicia, and people there have garden patches, and they always have. I saw a lot of these tomatoes that were very like what we think of as heirloom tomatoes. They were gnarled, multicolored, definitely not perfectly round and bright red. What's the difference between what we see in the grocery store and like what we consider an heirloom tomato?
Well, interestingly, tomatoes look different. The tomatoes we eat, everything from little cherry tomatoes to weird colored purple tomatoes to the standard red tomatoes you see in supermarkets. But those differences are pretty much skin deep. They're still, they're all the same species, all the same plant. They're just different variations that people have played with. An heirloom tomato is a tomato that is produced without having to crossbreed two species. It's an older tomato, usually over 75 years. It's been grown. They've been produced by people simply growing tomatoes, saving the seeds this year, replanting them the next. A modern industrial tomato is an heirloom, or is a hybrid, which simply means to get it, you have to breed two different parent tomatoes, and the resulting offspring is a hybrid. But if you replant its seeds, it's not going to be anything like the tomato that you got the seeds out of.
Well, Barry, your book is fantastic, Tomatoland, and there's a whole center section that we were unable to get to today that has to do with the field workers. That's who you dedicate the book to, and the consequences of working in this situation in Florida that requires a lot of pesticide use. I highly recommend people pick up a copy of this book and read it. Also visit your website, politicsoftheplate.com. It's fantastic. Barry Estabrook joining us this morning on Eat, Drink, Explore Radio. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, stick around, everyone. We're talking about growing garden herbs that will complement your cocktail, and you'll be right in fashion, as it happens to be one of the top 10 cocktail trends for the year. I'm your host, Randall White. You're listening to Eat, Drink, Explore Radio, and we are back in just a moment. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break, and we'll be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Thank you for being a regular listener to the Eat, Drink, Explore radio program. If you have any feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. Simply send a note to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break. We will be back shortly. Get the latest audio, video, and breaking news from Eat, Drink, Explore Media by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're easy to find. The URL extension for all of those sites is simply Eat, Drink, Explore. Thank you for your patience. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back on the air shortly. Curious about information you've heard on today's show? Just head to eatdrinkexplore.com and head to the weekly program summary section under the radio tab. We always list the websites and any other important facts associated with each of our guests we have on the program. The Eat, Drink, Explore radio show is currently in a local commercial break and will be back shortly. Did you know our weekly Saturday morning radio show also has a video simulcast on Ustream? You can watch it live or view pre-recorded versions while on the go by simply downloading our free Eat, Drink, Explore app for your smartphone or tablet device. To find it, just head to Google Play or the Apple App Store and search Eat, Drink, Explore. And a very good Saturday morning to you. 9:49 the time now. This is our last segment for this week's show anyway. And I felt that it paired very nicely with Sunset Magazine. We had on earlier in the show discussing the top 10 cocktail trends for summer 2012. One of those trends was to use like a farm to glass sort of technique where you grow all your own herbs and use those as the accoutrements to your cocktails. So to talk about that, because you know we love organic here on Eat, Drink, Explore Radio, we bring in Organic Gardening Magazine's Katie Walker. Welcome to the program, Katie.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So you have an article that you helped work on called Garden Party, right?
Yes.
And it's all about growing the perfect garden for just such this thing. When you entertain, you walk out into your garden, you pick a few things and bring it into the kitchen so you can make some good cocktails.
Yeah, it's the best, and it's so much fun when you have people over to show them around the cocktail garden. It really inspires creativity with cocktails when you're having a party. And it just makes, for a fun little title for the garden out in the back.
Right, exactly. So some people are limited with space and they may not have room to grow a ton of different herbs. If you had to pick one herb that is like a must-have for today's modern cocktails, what would you suggest people grow?
Well, absolutely, I would say mint. I think mint is the number one most versatile cocktail herb. I have limited space in my backyard. I actually grow all of my cocktail herbs in containers.
Oh, uh-huh.
And mint that is your baby. That is the one you need to take care of. That is going to serve you the best when you're making cocktails.
And mint you may want to grow in a confined space anyway because it has a tendency to spread.
Yeah, mint is worse than poison ivy or kudzu in the South. I mean, mint is everyone's best friend, but also you have to be careful. A great way to plant it in your backyard if you don't want to, because it is a big plant, so some people don't want to use a container. What we like to suggest is you actually cut the bottom out of a container and kind of stick it in the ground, and then you plant your mint inside of that.
Okay.
And that keeps the roots from spreading out into the garden and taking over, because it'll take over your yard.
Yeah.
It'll take over the garden. It'll just go everywhere.
And so that contains the root system so it doesn't pop up somewhere else.
Exactly.
in your garden. And so mint, once it starts growing and becoming somewhat of a bush, do you just pick the leaves off, or is there, I know with basil plants, you cut it really low near the stem and you basically like ravage the basil plant. It all comes back again beautifully. Does mint work the same way?
Mint will do the same thing. Mint, you can kind of, it is a lot like basil actually, and you can take a few leaves off if you're just making your own little mojito for the night. But if you have a lot of people coming over, feel free to just cut away at the mint. It is strong. It'll grow back. And, for a good mint julep or a drink like that, you need a lot of mint.
Yeah.
So just chop away at it for sure.
There are different varieties of mint. Do you have one in particular that works best with cocktails?
I personally really like spearmint, but I think it really depends on everyone's preference and also which kind of cocktail you're making with it. Different mints go better with different cocktails, and then there are fun ones like chocolate mint.
Oh.
Like, it's just fun to say that you're growing chocolate mint and you're making a chocolate mint drink. So
right.
You've got lots of options.
And mint pairs well with many things. Like melons, here in the article, you have melons, berries, peaches, even ginger.
Yeah, anything you want. Mint it's like salt or sugar. It just helps add to any kind of flavor that you're putting in your drink.
Now, because it's Organic Gardening Magazine, what's the organic trick for growing mint?
The organic trick for growing mint is probably my favorite. It's just don't do anything to it.
Ah.
Just let it be, keep it watered, harvest it. That helps keep it healthy.
Right.
And it'll be fine. There aren't a lot of pests for mint. It's not something you need to worry about.
Good.
Just plant it and water it, and you're good to go.
And if you've got some good compost that you've been building, that makes the perfect soil. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about basil. Would that be the number 2 on your list?
Basil is right up there, and basil is fun because it's a little bit more unexpected. In cocktails, people kind of expect mint, and basil is just such a fun flavor to have.
You're starting to find it on a lot of menus here in California anyway, married with strawberry in drinks.
Yes, I made a mint strawberry punch the other day, and they work so well together because they're neither are too sweet and neither have a terribly strong flavor, so they just pair really, really nicely.
Did you mean basil strawberry?
I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
That's okay. I just wanted
basil.
to make sure. Right.
Thank you.
And
we were so wrapped up in the mint. I just had a hard time.
No, I understand. I do it all the time. I listen to the show back sometimes, and I think, I said that? I don't remember saying that, but apparently I did. Now, there's a form of basil, and I've grown this before, that I think goes really well in drinks, and that is like a lemon basil.
Yes. Lemon basil is great, and also a variety that people are calling Japanese basil, or shiso, is another great version. And it's almost a little bit like mint, and it has kind of a peppery flavor, but it's a really, really fun form of kind of another, like a twin to basil.
I need to look at, the little post that you stick in next to the plant that tells you what you planted because you can never remember.
Yeah.
I need to find out what basil I planted because it's growing out of control, but you bring it into the house and it puts off such a strong perfume. It's almost overwhelming. It's great.
It has that great scent.
Yeah. Now, we have a huge rosemary bush that it's taken over a whole third of the garden because in California, rosemary can be grown in the yard as just a regular plant.
Oh, that's the best.
And we have a giant bush. What would you use rosemary with?
Rosemary is really, really great to pair with all sorts of berries. It's a lot, any kind of fresh fruit does really, really well with rosemary. And I like it with clear liquors, so vodka, gin, maybe even some champagne or wine.
Right.
Rosemary goes really nicely because, it's not strong, and so it adds just a really simple but very herby flavor, which is great.
It's such an easy, distinct scent to pick out when you smell rosemary. Now, the consistency of rosemary is not that leafy that you get with the basil and the mint that can blend nicely into a drink. So with rosemary, would you infuse it ahead of time? How do you add rosemary to a drink?
There's two really great ways. I would say either you infuse it into like a simple syrup, which works really, really well, or what I love to do, and which looks so pretty but is so easy, is you cut your little rosemary spears, spear some of the fruit that you're putting in the drink and use that as kind of a decoration for your cocktail, or even as the little cocktail stirrer. And it looks so fun, but it adds the flavor really nicely.
Right, and also scent is such a large portion of what you're tasting. It can add it that way.
Exactly. Have it right up in their noses when they're drinking the drink, and they'll love it.
Lavender, we have that in the yard to attract bees for some of our vegetables. I didn't think about using it in a drink.
Yeah, lavender, you just said it exactly. Because the bees love it. Mm-hmm. If you've got bees that are using lavender in their honey, if you have a cocktail that has honey in it, the lavender is going to taste phenomenal with that.
Because I'm such a huge sparkling wine fan, I love that you say to garnish a champagne flute with it.
Yeah, it's just, how pretty is that? To have that really bright color with the champagne is just, it's beautiful.
Now, cilantro, I've had it in a Mexican mojito. What else could you use cilantro for?
Well, cilantro is great kind of in the morning with your Bloody Mary. Anything that you put salt in, like a drink that is really kind of more on the salty side, cilantro is going to be great. And what I love to do is when you pair it with a margarita, if you are also putting the cilantro in the food, anytime you can combine the same herb in what you're eating with what you're drinking, it makes the whole meal come together really nicely.
Use the herb as a tie-in for your dishes and your cocktails. I love it.
Exactly.
What a great idea. Well, Katie Walker with Organic Gardening Magazine, all great tips. I'm going to have people use the link that we've provided online for a couple of the others we didn't get to, the lemon, verbena, and the dill. Also, you have tips on muddling and such. All great information. Katie, thank you for being our guest on the show today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was great.
And this hour was brought to you by Eberly Winery, where you will always find complimentary wine tasting, located on Highway 46 East in Paso Robles. Head on to eberlywinery.com. That's EBERLE.com. Thank you to Patty Pyburn, Curtis Cole, Nicole Powers, Ricardo Teodosio, Anthony Renaro, and Cora Adama. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week.